Sir joined AICTE, the All India Council for Technical Education, as its chairman in July 2015. Hailed as a visionary leader, he, in his role as AICTE chairman, has been instrumental in initiating many important policy measures that have strengthened the cause of management education in India. Prior to joining AICTE, Dr. Shastra Bude was professor of mechanical engineering, IIT Guwahati. Sir is a nationally renowned academician and research scientist. During his illustrious career, he has held several important academic, research, and administrative positions. He started his career at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 1983, and thereafter moved to Tata Consulting Engineers in the same year. He was also Director, College of Engineering in Pune, which he joined in 2006. That is on deputation from IIT Guwahati. During his tenure as Director, College of Engineering, he undertook several initiatives for academic, curricular, and co-curricular activities, as also entrepreneurship, research, and good governance. Dr. Sahasra Bude is chairman and expert member on various national level committees. Some of these include chairman, Basic Scientific Research Empowered Committee of UGC, and the MHRD Committee for Determination of Land Requirement for Central Higher Education Institutes. He has been bestowed with several awards during his distinguished career. These include Maha Entrepreneur Award 2011 of Taj Industries, Jeevan Gaurav Puraskar, which is the Lifetime Achievement Award from the MIT World Peace University, Pune. This was in 2019. And the Mahatma Gandhi Leadership Award from Indian Achievers Forum and CSR Times. Having apprised you in brief of the illustrious career and achievements of Dr. Anil Sahasrabudhe, I'm sure you will all agree there is no person more eminently suited than him to deliver the prestigious distinguished lecture today. It is indeed a momentous occasion in the annals of our history, and sir, your being here today serves as an immense source of inspiration for all of us, and in particular, young students. So thank you very much, sir, for being here today. And once again, welcome to GEMS. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaskar, Dr. Satish Sheth, for introducing me so elaborately.
A pleasure, sir. Entirely a pleasure.
Amit Gupta, Chairman, Dr. Ashok Sharma, Shilpi, and all others who have joined this particular today's GIMS Distinguished Lecture Series. I'm first of all thankful to the Jagannath International Management School for considering me to be suitable to give this particular distinguished lecture series. And I'm very happy that on a morning in the winter, so many people have joined online and they're all listening to all of us. It's a very exciting time, especially in the light of two important things which have happened in the last 1.5 years. It was the COVID which captured the attention of the whole world in terms of how our lives are so fragile in terms of life and death. And at the same time, immediately within the next 3 months, in July 2020, we had this new national education policy. I think I have got cold. Please excuse me in between if I'm scratching my throat. So we had this new education policy which was rolled out. Of course, as a matter of long and lot of deliberations from Panchayat to Parliament for a period of 4.5 years that the policy has come in. And it has come in after long 36 years. So these two incidents have really catapulted the attention of the whole education sector in our country as to how we should move forward in the next 25 years. And thankfully, this is a year of 1 year down the line is the year in which 75th year of our independence is being celebrated. That means on one side, the lot of learning from our 75 years of experience as an independent country, but a civilizational value system of 10,000 years. And at the same time, what we need to do in the next 25 years, as Honorable Prime Minister often talks about Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this Atmanirbharta is now being talked about by all nations of the world. On one side, we all talk about global citizenship of a multidisciplinary nature of the entire society and how internationalization to happen on one side, but at the same time, how each one of us have to also become self-reliant in the light of travel restrictions, in the light of no communication, transportation happening, and therefore these are very complex situations. And in such a situation, I recollect you are from management institution, and the management jargon which was there in the 80s, 90s, called as the VUCA world. The world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And this was coined at a time when economy was going up and down, and there were lots of turmoil that is happening in the economic sector, social sector, political sector, and this is all common everywhere today in the world. And COVID has proved it beyond doubt that nothing is certain. It is all uncertainty which prevails. And this is what again I reflect into the physics Heisenberg principle of uncertainty. So I think there are all of these very important, but nevertheless, despite this ambiguous, volatile, uncertain, complex world, VUCA, if you turn around those letters, ambiguity, A, instead of A, ambiguity, accept the ambiguity, and then adapt yourself with a positive change in the attitude. You have the complexity, no doubt, but can we cooperate? Can we collaborate? Can we create consensus? And uncertainty is there that if you change it to a unity of purpose, untiring efforts, the word volatile itself is volatile. It will all evaporate and victory is going to be ours. And if you take this positive attitude, the new education policy in the background of our COVID crisis is going to be giving us a lot of input. And that is where we need to discuss, we need to argue, we need to deliberate, we need to build consensus. We have to move on and make use of the new education policy as not a challenge, but as an opportunity to us to make ourselves Atmanirbhar at individual level, at family level, at societal level, at the national level, and at the global level. I think that is what is the significance of today's lecture, which I am going to deal with. So I will break the talk into the education sector, starting from what we call as preschooling, schooling, to high school, to higher education, to the higher research institutions and all of that. But starting with what is education all about? Education is nothing but self-exploration. It is a journey. And Swami Vivekananda had rightly put out, each human being is individually divine, comes with some in his or her DNA. It needs to be explored. It needs to be invigorated. It needs to be explored, what we say, supported, mentored to bring it out. That means the excellence which is already within man has to be brought to the fore outside. And that is what education does. That is where confidence building of students happens. And this is what education is required to do. And therefore, education starts right from birth of the child. In fact, in our philosophy, they say that even in the womb of the mother, child starts learning. The famous story of Abhimanyu is all there to know to us. But at least when a child takes the birth, the learning starts. And it is all actually experiential learning. The child is able to listen to different sounds, is able to see with the eyes. That means the 5 sense organs which the God has gifted to the child, be it eyes, ears, the smell, the taste, the touch. All of these are very valuable inputs through which learning starts. the child starts recognizing mother first, then of course through the sight other parents and relatives, grandparents, etc. in the home. It starts learning many other things like sound, vowels, etc. And so starts learning the language, starts walking, talking. And therefore, learning begins at home right from 0 age. But by the time a child comes into the school, which is right now happening formally at the age of 6, the new policy is asking us to change from the 10+2 system to a new system of 5+3+3+4. That means total of 15 years of education as against present 12 years of education till the higher secondary. That means the child is to enter at the age of 3 instead of 6. Of course, informally, many places we have nursery, KG, Balwadi, Anganwadi, where children do come at the age of 3, 4, but formally in the present current school system, this is going to be introduced in the years to come. So that means the child comes into the school at the age of 3. So its journey for the next 15 years till the child achieves the age of 18 and then comes to us in the higher education sector. What all is to happen is very greatly deliberated in the policy. First and foremost, in the early child education must be in the mother tongue. Whatever child has come from, whichever language, the same language should continue so that child does not get shock. It is a easy transition from home to school. That is the number one. So all pre-primary, that means from age 3 to first, that 5 years, must be purely in the mother tongue. May add more languages in that, telling stories in different languages. Maybe toys which will allow you to play games, and in the process you learn different languages, different words. But everything should be enjoyable in the form of playful learning. And that's what many of them call it as play schools in different countries of the world. And the primary education in the early first 5 years is supposed to be in the form of stories, games, toys, experiential learning, which the family system is giving through the values at home to the school. This transition must be as smooth as possible. But at the time of those end of 5 years, gradually student will start learning the 3 R's, writing, reading, and ability to do some mathematics, addition, subtraction, number system, etc. So that is what is the preliminary part of it. The next 3 years, more rigorous your science, mathematics, social sciences will start. And at the end of those 5+3, 8 years of education, that means after 11 years of education, the real hardcore skill education also should start. And this has 2 facets to it. One is the child at that age is capable of having a lot of motor activities, hands, legs, etc. movement would have matured into that, and therefore activities using hands, legs is easily possible, and therefore skilling by different ways, be it ordinary skilling of carpentry to even as a difficult one as welding to electronics, assembling, all of that child can start doing it. Our children at home are using mobile phones better than the elders. If their motor ability is so good, so at the age of 11 they would be doing fantastic work. So the skilling will start, and this will not only empower a child to learn different types of skill sets, which is important, but the other learning is the difficulties involved in each one of them also start getting appreciated by the child. And that is where in our country the dignity of labor, something called blue collar job, right? White collar job, someone sitting in AC, someone, all variety of tasks, jobs that are performed are for the betterment of the society. They are all contributing to the wealth of the nation. And this philosophy will get further strengthened when the child starts doing work by its own hands, knows the difficulties involved. Then respect for all variety of jobs will automatically emanate, rather than saying in theory that you should respect a person who is doing cleaning work at home or someone who is doing cooking at home. All of these are skill sets. Cooking is a skill. Cleaning of your table or the room is also a skill. And how each one of those skills requires some amount of labor input, and doing it perfectly in a nice manner is itself an art and itself is an education. I think this education will also come through that. So I think dignity of labor on one side and actual experience in terms of skilling, both of these, including motor skills, will happen from the age of that level in the next 3 years. And child further can expand those skill sets, either specialize in some of them or new area skills, what we talk as the emerging technologies, be it artificial intelligence or Internet of Things or machine learning or robotics or drones. They are all very, very important skill sets of the future, which are creating employment of the future. It is to be certainly given in the higher education, but if this can be started in the education at the school level, it's in higher school, last 4 years of the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, present grade, or the education after 11 years, 12, 13, 14, 15th year of education, if this is also imparted, the children who come to the higher education are well prepared, well groomed, well grounded, and our job in the higher education becomes much more easier, simpler, and we will be able to create excellent graduates from out of our higher education sector. And that is the philosophy which is adopted. And also, during these 4 years, there is no hard, separation of discipline like in the present state. After 10th grade, student gets into either an arts stream, commerce stream, or a science stream. And 11th and 12th is in arts or commerce or science. And accordingly, the decision is taken at the end of 10th standard, and those who are in arts continue in the arts. They cannot shift anywhere. Those who are in the commerce go into the commerce stream, doing BCom or chartered accountancy or company secretary, etc. Some of them may change to arts stream, which is permissible. They may take up economics, they may take up psychology. But those who are in science, they have flexibility to go anywhere. They can come to arts, they can go to commerce. But students who are in arts cannot come to science, cannot go to commerce. This is slightly like two-way valve or one-way valve. This is how our system is operating. And decision is taken at the end of 10th standard. So then the new system, when there are no hardcore disciplinary walls developed at the end of the 8th class, that means the last 4 years being fully liberal education, a student can take 1 or 2 courses which are from the science domain, one from the arts domain, and one from the commerce domain. For example, one can take accountancy, along with that physics and chemistry, and along with that music or psychology is a possibility. And if such students complete their 12th grade, they certainly would have enjoyed what is an emphasis in the higher education, that is multidisciplinarity. They would have already got a taste and flavor of multidisciplinarity through the liberal education of the 9th, 10th, 12th, 11th, 12th grade. But entry into different higher education sector will become a challenge. And that's why we need to be more flexible in admission criteria for higher education. And that's what we have started liberalizing, saying that for admissions in engineering or in, say, architecture, pharmacy, you need not have all 3 physics, chemistry, mathematics, or for the domain of, say, biotechnology, physics, chemistry, and biology as mandatory. But if we have somehow missed one of them, how we can still get admission and then integrate them with the rest of the students by having advanced bridge courses to make them level with the rest of the students. I think this is going to be a challenge and an opportunity. An opportunity because we don't want to close the doors on those students who somehow, because of the liberal education which is being provided, has missed out on one course which is so essential for engineering. We don't want to close the doors, but open a window of opportunity, asking that student, if you are having taste for that, you have an aptitude for that, you have an attitude for that program, you may have to do additional courses to become aware of the balance which others have already learnt and then come into the mainstream. So in the process, either whatever you have learnt is already part of the curriculum, so some waivers in education of some courses and some additional courses. So both these methodologies have to be adopted. And in some cases, maybe a student have to spend one extra semester to a year to come level with the rest of the students who have studied in depth physics, maths, chemistry to become engineering graduates. And that's why this flexibility will also add a lot of complexities and challenges. We must use our innovative bent of mind in order to create opportunities for us to provide all these students who wish to come in with due respect whatever they had selected 4 years back. No, 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 you didn't select the right combination, now you have nothing to do. I think that is where policy has diverted its attention to provide such opportunities. Now, coming to the higher education sector, there are few very important dimensions which have been talked about, and a couple of them were already said earlier also, but there has been great emphasis laid. I would like to just mention two of these. Number one is autonomy. All higher education institutions must be autonomous. This one cap fits for all is not right approach, and therefore each institution must have freedom of four different types. We call it academic freedom, we say administrative freedom, we say financial freedom, we say managerial freedom. This is one type of autonomy. On the other side, freedom to select students, freedom to select faculty, freedom to have your own curriculum, freedom to impart curriculum in a manner that you want to deliver, freedom to conduct your examination in a manner that you want, so that you evaluate students at the end of the program based on the desired outcomes that you had decided that should be imparted. So each program must clearly define outcomes at the end of the program. I will come to 3-year program, 4-year program, etc. also. So you have some essential elements which have to be imbibed by the students by the end of the program, whereby that student becomes useful to herself and himself, to his or her family, to the society, to the nation, and to the world at large. So for doing that, to develop that confidence, to create that ability, capability, capacity in the student, you need to have curriculum which will take you through a journey of experience, journey of gathering knowledge, journey of critical thinking, analytical ability, at the end of which all those goals which have to be set by a student or to achieve by a student have to be achieved. And that is the purpose of education all about. In the beginning itself I said, Swamiji had said, ability which is already there in the human being has to be explored, it has to be nurtured, it has to be supported. And this is the part which the educational institution has to do. And unfortunately, it cannot be same for all. And that is why there is a freedom required for the educational institution. Maybe large number of students learn. If you are delivering a lecture, then majority of your course content delivery must be on the basis of maybe like delivering a lecture in the classroom, and maybe once in a while you take them around in the laboratory and outside world and showcase them how things happen, how things are operated, how things function. But there are students who do not get interested in a classroom lecture. They learn by doing. Learning by doing is a new way of looking at how to teach a student. So you give them a gadget, you give them the tools, you give them the machine, and ask them to fiddle with that, tinker with that. And in the process, the child may make initially some mistake, but by continuous experience, it will start learning what is right, what is wrong. And that is what child does in the early stage as well. Look at any mother which tells the child that this is a hot candle and you should not touch the flame, otherwise your finger gets burnt. The child will listen to mother because otherwise disciplinary action will be there, something will come, so the child will keep quiet. But when mother is not there in front, maybe suddenly it will go and touch the flame and it will burn the finger, and then learn that what mother said is right. This is what scientific experimentation which child does is also to be allowed. So in education, the learning should be joyful, learning should be through experiences, learning should be through experimentation, learning through internship. So all of that is one level of working. The third level of learning in any institution could be also in terms of working together, projects, and the projects being not single domain projects. I will come to multidisciplinary universities and what the policy talks about. So that experience also is very important. How we have to work together in the life once you graduate and go out in the outside world, whether it is a job in a large corporate company or a service in a government organization, or you start your own entrepreneurial journey, or you get into some social work, or you get into politics also. I think you need to have dealing with people, understanding people, dealing with people, and association with people, then becoming a leader and taking care of the rest of the people who are around you. I think all these characteristics and traits can be built in the students through set of projects which they have to do together. You have group of say 4 or 5 students who are given a challenging assignment. They will start thinking on that problem. Different students will bring different ideas, and that is the same spirit of democracy which we talk about. Different ideas will come, and there will be discussion, there will be debate, there will be a lot of churning, and finally all of them will create a consensus and say that yes, this appears to be a better way. They may all be wrong, but still they will experiment, they will try, they will either succeed, they may fail. Even if they fail, they learn lessons from that failure and then start going ahead to tweak with the earlier idea, may try another idea and then go ahead. And that's why this project-based learning, experiential learning, the problem-solving based learning, these are all going to become more and more important, and the higher education sector is going to focus on these aspects. And for doing all of this, therefore, the policy talks about not only giving autonomy, which will empower the college or the institution to have flexibility for operating in terms of learning style of the student to be supported, but the other part which is also there is teaching and learning in mother tongue. This is another emphasis which has been said even in the higher education. Probably this focus for the first time has been given with larger focus, because we have found that we have reached gross enrollment ratio of 27% from 0.7% at the time of independence. So we have a long journey which we have undertaken for 75 years, and from 0.7 to 27. 0.7 to 0.27. Please remember. So there's a long journey, but took 75 years. And our target is 50% in the next about 10 to 15 years. That means we have to not only double, but maybe triple, because the population is also increasing during this period. Therefore, the present higher education sector is about 3.8 crore students, 38 million. And that may have to be 100 million. 10 crore students in higher education. So naturally, who are those who are not coming to higher education? If you go a little bit in depth, we find that there are students from rural areas, students from tribal areas, students from very remote parts of the country, where education is still going on in their mother tongue up to their 10th, 12th standard. They are not confident in coming to higher education where everything is happening in English. So how can we support these children also to come into mainstream education, higher education, and contribute? In fact, it has two benefits. One is to increase gross enrollment ratio. This will be useful. But on the other side, my own personal observation is that students who are in the remote areas, tribal areas, rural areas, those who are in such locations, they are in the midst of nature. They are in the midst of environment. Unlike cities and towns where we are all sitting in the concrete jungle and our observation power has become limited, because we can see only 10 feet beyond us. There is a wall in front of us everywhere. On the road also we have say maybe 30 feet, 40 feet road. So we have both sides buildings. So we don't see nature at all. Whereas a student in the remote rural urban, instead of urban area or the tribal area, is in the midst of plants. He sees the animals, he sees the birds, he sees the butterflies, he sees the leaves that are growing, the flowers. All of this gives lot of inputs to our sensory organizations, and lot of learning takes place. And today, most of the emerging technologies, new areas which are getting developed, they are all bio-inspired. And if you are not even seeing the biological features or creatures, I don't think we will be able to do real bio-inspired innovations. And therefore, students who have studied in their mother tongue from the remote areas have great value addition that to make to the domain of knowledge, and they are left out of the system today, so they can be brought into the system by providing this enablement. And our policy has been all along also access, equity, and inclusion. And access, equity, inclusion, true inclusion will happen only when we include all of them who otherwise are not confident in coming to the higher education sector. So provide them that opportunity through language. So these are two fundamental things, autonomy and the inclusiveness through the teaching of higher education in mother tongue are the two mainstream things which are somewhere reflected in earlier policies but have been given more emphasis here. But certain new things which are added, which we had forgotten, is about multidisciplinary nature of education. Education is never compartmentalized. You cannot compartmentalize. It is actually continuity or a continuum. In fact, the education starts from, as I said, from the childbirth in the womb of the mother to the highest education of PhD, postdoctoral education. It is a continuum. For convenience, for the nature of the size of the students, and also in terms of the numbers that are there, we divide them into pre-primary, primary, high school, higher secondary school, college, university, etc. That's only for convenience. But essentially, education is a continuum. That's why we elaborate this quite often, and therefore the multidisciplinarity is the essence of education. And that's why university, the word university itself, or in our Hindi or Sanskrit or any other Indian languages, we call Vishwa Vidyalaya. The whole Vishwa is there part of it. That means you cannot have a segregated program, but it's a program which is holistic, which is multidisciplinary. That is the nature of a university, a universal nature. And somehow from that, starting of those universities, maybe in the ancient times, Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, and all of them were also multidisciplinary universities, to the starting of the first universities, even by the British during our non-independence times, that is Bombay University, Calcutta University, and Madras University, the first three universities of India, were all multidisciplinary. There were arts, commerce, science, engineering, everything was under one umbrella. But gradually we started getting specialized. Nothing wrong in specialization. Depth is important, specialization is important, but the very nature of education, very nature of the knowledge is multidisciplinary, and slowly we are forgetting that, and that's why the policy has made us to again recollect those memories and made us to start thinking aloud to start multidisciplinary universities. It calls MERU, multidisciplinary research universities, to be created, at least one each in every district. That is what the policy talks about. Therefore, we have on one side multidisciplinarity which has to be developed by all variety of institutions. Even an international management school may have to think of expanding the base. In what way? There are challenges, there are opportunities. I will come to that a little while later. But each one of these institutions have to be multidisciplinary, so that a student gets two things. Whatever the child likes, sometimes has not taken admission in that domain. We have seen children being thrust into engineering because it appears that they are the job spinning very easily, jobs are available, therefore parents, friends, relatives all push them into certain domain. But the child's interest is in music or in dance or painting. Can we also allow student to take those courses? This is one way of looking at multidisciplinarity. But the other one is the connect, the famously connecting the dots, which we say in life. How do we have connection between physics and music? How there is a connection between management education and psychology? These kind of things. How does student learn when they get exposure to both these domains? And some of these activities which are conducted in the institution, be it in the form of formal education or informal education. And in fact, the policy is now talking about nothing like extracurricular or co-curricular, everything can be curricular. A student of maybe engineering can take a course in sports and have 3 credits earned out of that and will get credited into his or her account. So that means multidisciplinarity from the context of learning different variety of subjects on one hand, and connecting the dots and realism that the nature of product is always multidisciplinary. Take any example of an automobile for that example. One time we were thinking that it's a purely a mechanical engineering equipment or machine, but no more. Today it has probably more computer science, more electronics than mechanical engineering. You also have different types of accessibility by way of automation, and therefore it is also making the vehicle to be friendly with what we call as physically disabled, maybe also those who are dyslexic, how they can also be made to use this kind of a vehicle. So that means you require psychology on one side, medicine on the other side, health on the other side, and also engineering on one side. So therefore, the attitude of the people who are developing products must have that multidisciplinary nature. You take any problem, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or the Digital India, Skill India. So all of these programs also require a lot of multidisciplinarity, and how education will make students imbibe those value sets and then start developing those products and processes. And that's why we need the multidisciplinarity to be part of our ethos. It has to be built. And that's why each of these colleges and universities will have to start looking forward for either expanding the base or by way of collaboration, cooperation with other institutions, or in the form of a cluster if they are of the same organization. For example, the same society and trust is running multiple institutions. Can those institutions come together and form a cluster to offer a degree program, which is a multidisciplinary program, giving a taste and flavor of the new products and processes the way they are developed? Maybe hackathons where they work together in order to create a product. All of these are possibilities which one has to do. If nothing is there, at least can we collaborate with like-minded other institutions to create that ambience in an academic institution. This is all what is multidisciplinary. It also talks about multiple exit, multiple entry, which is a new feature. A student who comes into a system many times does not fit well there. As I said, because of parental pressure, someone has come and therefore does not fit, or maybe during the first 1 or 2 years of the education in that domain, the student realizes that his interest or aptitude lies somewhere else, and therefore wants to quit and go to somewhere else. In the present model, everything that was done in the 2 years is lost. So the new policy allows the credits earned during these years as well to be made use of to the extent possible by a new program in which a student would like to take admission. And therefore, there is a philosophy of academic bank of credits. Everything what a student learns in the form of credit is going to be recorded against the name of the student with a unique ID, and student can transgress from one discipline to the other, from skill domain or vocational domain to a general domain of education, or from the education of science to maybe medicine, or medicine back to physics or some zoology. I think whatever student had learned is recorded and may be to the extent possible. I'm not saying that all of that may be useful, because for a particular degree to be awarded in a particular discipline, you require some course credits which are absolutely core, which are generic for that discipline. Some are very specific to that discipline, and there are lots of open electives, choice-based electives which are also available. So depending on how many credits are permitted to make use of from the earlier ones, that much must be allowed by a new university to adopt to their curriculum and then allow it. Therefore, multiple exit, multiple entry. Exit may happen, as I said, not because of not having interest on one side, but on the other side, difficulty in family, someone exits and wants to take care of the family, come back in education after a couple of years. Today, whatever was done, everything is lost. Now nothing is going to be lost. It is recorded, it is kept in bank account, that is academic bank of the student, can be made use of. You can return to the same college as well. You go to some other college as well. So I think these kind of flexibilities are going to be coming in through all of this multiple entry, multiple exit, multidisciplinary nature, academic bank of credits. The next very important thing is about research. There is a lot of emphasis on research because no country in the world can prosper without innovation and without research. If we have to prosper economically, if we have to do the well-being of the society, I think a lot of research is very, very crucial, and educational institutions are the places where seeds of research are sown. Then in industry, then in government, in different places, wherever a student goes, he will continue the journey of doing research. Research brings in ability for analytical thinking, critical capabilities, critical thinking, innovation, all of that. They are all the spin-off benefits out of research, where you start digging deep into it, start understanding the phenomenon, start exploring what else can be done. And that is what we do all the time in the society. How did mankind develop in the 12,000 years of the inhabitation that he started? You know, man was nomadic, from nomadic to settlements, to starting the agriculture, from agriculture to the industrialization in the 17th, 18th century. How did man progress? It's only because of constant ability to think, ability to react, ability to innovate and try, fail, again try, and then succeed. You know, that is the way the mankind has progressed, and therefore the new education policy must have all of these elements embedded. Lastly, most of us, when they come into higher education, one of the expectations from the family, from the student himself, or from the society is that they should become useful. And that's why outcome-based education, which I have been constantly referring to, each institution should define for each type of programs what are the outcomes desired to be achieved and how these are to be given in terms of different types of courses that are to be included into the curriculum. Now, for becoming employable, you require all emerging technologies also to be taught. You know, I will mention courses like those on artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, robotics, 3D printing, blockchain, augmented reality, virtual reality. Either all of these are required to be learned as a subject in some cases for developing them further. But on the other side, the basic knowledge of them is essential. Like today, someone who does not know mathematics is not able to do it. Someone who is not able to communicate in the language, at least in one of the languages, is not good for society. At the same time, someone who is not able to do computational work, not necessarily high-end computational, maybe word processing on a Microsoft, is not going to be employed at all, because you need use of how do you use telephone or mobile phone and its different applications. These are all absolute life skills which have become part of the life. And similarly, maybe tomorrow AI, machine learning will all become requirement. AR and VR will be required, will be important. Robotics and drones will become important. Maybe also in agriculture, maybe in healthcare delivery, maybe in education technology delivery. And therefore, be it in psychology, be it in economics, be it in management or in engineering, some of these emerging areas are going to become vital and important. And therefore, once such new areas come in, we should not be grappling in trying to unearth how do you learn this now. So the lifelong learning philosophy has to be embedded in education. It talks about how do we create teachers of tomorrow, or the teacher education, which will make not only teachers to be vibrant and learn constantly, but also make their students also the lifelong learners or self-learners. And we have today tools available for that, you know, MOOC platforms. Our own indigenously developed Swayam platform with 6,500 courses today, and it is going to have 10,000, 20,000 courses in the years to come. All new things which are going to come will all become part of this platform. So if someone has missed out or not studied or something new has come in, one can learn on one's own rather than again going back to the college probably. And that is where lifelong learning is a philosophy, has to also be embedded in our curricula. Students will be given a flavor, a taste of asking them to study something on their own and come and present. And that's how they become lifelong learners. I think along with this, the Indian knowledge system and values, they are also given prominence. Many times we are not confident of ourselves because we think everything has come from the West, whereas the best of the universities of the world, the very fact that the education began in India, be it in Gurukulas or Takshila, Nalanda University of the world, they were all emanated from here, science emanated from here, astronomy from here, physics from here, mathematics from here, chemistry, metallurgy, material science, civil engineering. Maybe electronics was not there at that time, or aerospace was not there at that time. But some significant areas of both management, humanity, social sciences, psychology, political science, all of those subjects where starting point in the world was from indigenous Indian civilization, and then it went to outside, and then again is coming back. So therefore, we have to be proud of our heritage. Therefore, policy also tries to help support people to dig into the ancient past, make it relevant to today. Don't bask in only ancient glory, but how it is relevant to today's needs, how we can take it forward, conduct research in those domains. And during COVID, many things happened in terms of Ayurveda and yoga, how it helped people to keep away from the COVID crisis. Some of them were able to deliver better than even the doses which are given to us. That science is also important, not necessarily that only the ancient science is important. But how do we merge this together? How do we learn these two together? I think these are some of those areas which are covered in the new education policy. And to support research, there is National Research Foundation, which will support research in all domains. This is also one part of the story. Teacher education has been given importance. Vocational education, skill education is given importance. I think I have covered many of the aspects of the new education policy and how we need to take it forward. I hope there will be certainly some questions, some doubts in the minds of the viewers, listeners, maybe on the chat box or directly asking the questions. I open the forum for deliberation. Some new ideas also may come from some of the audience. How do we implement it so that it will be effectively useful for all of us? And all of those things are welcome now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving guidance to our young generations who are here with us together today on National Education Policy 2020, which has already begun its historic effort in first omnibus policy, working of making education more equitable, inclusive, of high quality. So if you allow me, we have questions which I would like to ask. So should I go ahead? So there's one question from one of our students. According to the National Education Policy 2020, students willing to complete their graduation have to study for 4 years, while one can easily complete his or her diploma degree in 2 years down the line. This might encourage the pupil to leave the course midway. So how will the government motivate students to complete their degree course?
I think it's not the question of motivation, it's up to the individual. Any person, because of whatever reason, wants to go out of the system, the flexibility is provided. Doesn't mean that one has to quit at the end of 2 years or 3 years. The 4 year degree program can have exit at the end of 2 years with a some diploma, 3 years with a degree also. The 4 years degree is a specialized one, or you call it as honors degree or call a research degree or something. Thereby, your future journey much more it will become easier. For instance, those who have done 4 year graduation in arts or commerce or science will or can have only 1 year post graduation. So it is all the same, 3 years plus 2 years right now, that will become 4 years plus 1 year. And if someone has quit at the end of 3 years, he has to do a 2 years master's. So it indirectly boils down to the same, but there is a flexibility which is provided that someone can go out with certain things in hand rather than empty-handed. Currently, if someone has entered into an arts college or a commerce college, which is a 3 year program, after 1 or 2 years, someone leaves, he doesn't get anything. He's almost at the same level as 12th standard in terms of employability, in terms of everything. So now a person will get a diploma, maybe some lower level work in the factory or a company or somewhere, he will be able to earn that job. That is one part. But because of certain difficulties, someone has gone out in the family. Sometimes these kind of things happen because of an accident, because of some issue in the family, someone has quit. The provision of re-entry is also there. He can come in and start at the 3rd year and then earn the degree. So there is nothing like motivating or demotivating. It is because of the choice under compulsions, whatever in his or her own life. One should not have rigidity, but this is a flexibility which is brought in. Most of the students will still continue and complete their degree. These only exceptional cases where people may have to go out. They will not go empty, they will go with a diploma in their pocket. That is what it says.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure the students' doubts have been clarified. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Amit Gupta, sir, to deliver a vote of thanks. Dr. Amit Gupta, Chairman, Jagannath International Management School GIMS, is a nationally renowned educationist, an outstanding scholar, iconic entrepreneur, and a philanthropist. Inspired by the ideal of making education meaningful to the times, he laid the foundation of GIMS Group, a modern, professionally run education group, 3 decades back. The group has since established 8 higher education institutes and 2 private state universities in the states of Delhi, Haryana, UP, and Rajasthan. Dr. Amit Gupta is a member of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, Rotary International and Roundtable. A recent feather in his cap was honored with the prestigious Outstanding Rotarian Award for serving humanity. I invite you, sir, to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Shilpi, and a big thanks to Dr. Anil Saspradeji. I was thinking before the commencement of the lecture that maybe we would have certain inputs from your side, which the students may or may not understand. But I have no hesitation in admitting that the way you spoke clearly and at such a practical, candid level that each and every student would have really got a better insight of the new education policy. And I'm really glad to also admit that a lot of policies which were not clear to our faculty or the implication of the new education policy would have been much clearer now. But sir, before I formally thank you, I would just like to tell you about the history of our distinguished lecture series, which was started by us more than a decade back. It was launched in the memory of our father, the late Sri Jagannath Gupta. It was primarily his visionary leadership and foresight that led to the funding or the commencement of the GIMS group of institutions in 1993. In the last 3 decades, since its inception, the group has a phenomenal rise and is today running 8 higher education institutions and 2 private state universities in the states of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Haryana. The purpose of organizing the distinguished lecture series is to provide a unique platform for our students to help them get a glimpse into the minds of successful and outstanding academicians, industry captains, government officials, politicians, and spiritual leaders. Like you talked about NEP, our objective of organizing these lectures is also to get views from different aspects of professional careers, and not only corporate leaders, but also spiritual leaders. Some of the eminent personalities who've delivered this prestigious lecture in the past include late Sri Arun Jaitley ji, Sri Ravi Shankar ji, Shri Naveen Jindal, Shri Salman Khurshid, and the late Shri Soli Sorabji. Today's lecture on the national education policy was indeed extremely important, but I really believe that the implementation of NEP would also be dependent on four pillars, which includes, most important, the government machinery, which includes the different organizations, including UGC, AICTE, and so on. And then the second most important would be the institutions like us. How do we respond to the new education policy? Third would be the students. Like there was a doubt raised by one of the students. Do they really make the best use of this NEP, or they would just take this as another policy would be just on paper and they continue with their own traditional framework? And the fourth most important, I think, would be the faculty members, because they are the ones who would be delivering the curriculum. They would be the ones who would be actually responsible for all the learning. So I guess if all four of us really change our attitude, understand the NEP, and really implement this with full zeal and vigor. We have seen Singapore, US, UK, so many universities implementing some portions of NEP, whatever we've discussed in the last 1 hour. They have been implementing it for the last few decades. But like you mentioned, I think India was the one who had the best universities in the world. In fact, all these invasions, when it happened, whether the Britishers or others, they made sure that our university's culture was actually killed, and they ensured that the confidence and the pride in our education was lost. So I think it's more important that we Indians, we students, we faculty members together make sure that we re-imbibe that pride in our education. It really hurts me at times when I see that my son just turned 18 this year, then most of his friends want to go abroad. Given an opportunity, one wants to go to US, UK, Singapore, and so many other destinations. But if we can really ensure that the best quality of the world is there in India, which I'm sure we have the potential, because if you see all the CEOs of top tech companies, whether it's Google, Microsoft, latest was Twitter, is being managed by Indians. So if we have the IITs, we have the IIMs, why can't we have the world's best ranked universities in India? So I leave you with this thought. And I just once again thank you so much. No lecture could have been better on NEP than what you delivered in the last 1 hour. And I really hope that all our faculty and students implement this and understand this in a much better way. And when we meet, maybe a couple of years from now, we are able to prove that, yes, at GIMS, we are implementing NEPC, new education policy with full vigor, and hope that the government's objectives are also achieved along with our efforts. Thank you so much once again. And thank you, Akhilji. Thank you, all our governing board members, faculty, students who are present here, directors of different campuses, and let's together make a better learning experience at GIMS. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. With this, we come to the end of our Distinguished Lecture series. GIMS really appreciates our honorable guest for taking out time from their busy schedule. Again, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Anil D. Sahasrabuddhe sir, Chairman AICTE, Dr. Amit Gupta, Chairman GIMS, Dr. Satish Seth sir, Advisor to Chairman Kalkaji, and Dr. Ashok Sharma, Director, GIMS Kalkaji, all faculties of GIMS family and our dear students. I request all of you to thank you for being part of this event and making this a wonderful one. Thank you.